Ladies and gentlemen, California Governor Gavin Newsom has just completely caved to President Trump. You see, Governor Newsom just submitted a written request to Congress for $40 billion in federal aid to help clean up the mess left behind by the Palisades fires. And as you all know, all of that damage was really caused by a complete and total failure of California's progressive leadership. But so in the request letter, Newsom admits that the damage from the fires is beyond California's ability to deal with, and that he also understands that any federal assistance is going to come with some strings attached. Because, as you all might remember, Trump has been very clear that if California wants help with their recovery, they're going to have to make one massive compromise. What's the compromise? Voter ID. Take a look at this.
Funding to Los Angeles because of its sanctuary city policy?
I want to see two things in Los Angeles. Voter ID, so that the people have a chance to vote. And I want to see the water be released and come down into Los Angeles and throughout the state. Those are the two things. After that, I will be the greatest president that California has ever seen. I want the water to come down and come down to Los Angeles and also go out to all the farmland that's barren and dry. You know, they have land that they say is the equivalent of the land in Iowa, which is about as good as there is anywhere on earth. The problem is it's artificial because they artificially stop the water from going onto the land. So I want two things. I want voter ID for the people of California, and they all want it. Right now you don't have voter ID. People want to have voter identification. You want to have proof of citizenship. Ideally, you have one-day voting, but I just want voter ID as a start, and I want the water to be released, and they're going to get a lot of help from the U.S. Thank you very much. I'll see you in a little while.
And so President Trump has been very clear with California and Governor Newsom. If they want federal assistance, they need to enforce voter ID laws. In fact, in the state of California, not only do you not need an ID to vote, but you also don't even need an ID to register to vote. So what all of that means is that in reality, California doesn't even really have a democracy because no one has any idea who's voting. But okay, so you know what? President Trump isn't actually the only person that's pushing this voter ID issue on Governor Newsom. You see, Speaker of the House Mike Johnson also recently gave his thoughts on all of this. But before we take a look at that, I want to say real quick that if you guys enjoy the daily news coverage, please consider subscribing to the channel because it really does help a ton with my daily struggle against the YouTube algorithm. But okay, take a look at what Speaker Johnson had to say about all of this.
Is that going to be a red line for you? If you insist on voter ID in exchange for aid to California?
Yeah, we've got to work out the details of that. I have not spoken to the president about that issue since he said that. He'll be here tonight, of course, for dinner with us, and that's one of the topics of discussion. Listen, there are a lot of issues going on in California, and we have been lamenting the lack of voter security there for some time, election security. We were deeply concerned about it in this last election cycle, and we saw 3 of our seats frankly slip away from us in the weeks that it took to continue counting ballots in California when seemingly every other state and nation in America can get it done. It's inexcusable. Gavin Newsom provides, I think, such a lack of leadership there in so many ways, and it was highlighted by the disaster with the fires. It's so heartbreaking that California citizens are suffering because of the lack of state and local leadership on those issues. They did not manage the forests well. They did not manage the water well. And everyone knew for decades that the eventuality that we've seen over the last couple of weeks here since the fire disasters began was foreseeable. They assumed the risk because of their crazy far-left policies. So we've talked about conditioning the aid that will go there to policy changes. I think that is a common sense notion that is supported by the vast majority of the American people who do not want to subsidize crazy California leftist policies that are dangerous for people.
So folks, not only is everything he just said 100% right, but he was also very clear. California is not getting any federal relief money unless they enforce voter ID laws. But now, I want to show you all something that's going to absolutely blow your minds. Just around 3 weeks ago, California actually passed a $50 million budget initiative to help protect illegal immigrants from the Trump administration. So what that means is that Governor Newsom is trying to have his cake and eat it too. On one hand, he's spending state money to help protect illegal immigrants. Then on the other hand, he's begging the federal government for federal money to help clean up the mess that he made. So folks, this is all just the pure definition of hypocritical, incompetent leadership. But hey, you know what? That's not even the full extent of all of the idiocy. Because just when you think that California can't get any worse under Governor Newsom's leadership, it finds a way to get worse. And so while we're talking about Governor Newsom wasting taxpayer money, take a look at this.
Why have we spent $16 billion for California's high-speed rail, and there's still no rail? They're over a decade behind schedule, and they keep asking for more money. Secretary of Transportation Sean Duffy showed up with a message for them. Listen.
I want to address the protesters for a moment, if I could. I think they were chanting, "Build the rail." It's been 17 years and $16 billion, and no rail has been built. So if you want to go protest somewhere, if you want to shout at someone, go to the governor's mansion. Go talk to Democrats in the legislature who have brought us this crappy project. We're done with it. And you know what? You're going to have people who love fraud, who love waste, who love trains to nowhere. This is a boondoggle. They should ask the question, who didn't build my rail? Who got rich? What consultants, what politicians' husbands got rich off of this money?
$16 billion for a high-speed rail project in California, and guess what? After 10 years, there's no rail, and all of the money has disappeared. Quite literally, no one has any idea where the money went. It's almost like Gavin Newsom has turned the great state of California into his own private slush fund, because under his leadership, state projects keep getting started, but guess what? They never get finished. But still, all of the money manages to disappear. In fact, take a look at this. As things stand right now, California is spending $9.5 billion per year on healthcare costs for illegal immigrants. So not only is Governor Gavin Newsom letting illegal immigrants into the country across the southern border, he's also spending taxpayer money to protect those illegal immigrants from getting deported by the Trump administration, as well as paying for all of their healthcare costs, and he's also letting all of them vote. Folks, I don't really think that this is how democracy is supposed to work, but hey, what do I know? But you know what? Thank God that President Trump and House Speaker Johnson have finally put their foot down on all of this anti-American behavior coming from Governor Gavin Newsom. Because once again, the message that they are sending is very clear. If Governor Gavin Newsom wants any federal money whatsoever, he's going to need to enforce voter ID laws and work with the Trump administration to remove illegal immigrants from the country. And so, folks, like we said earlier, with that financial aid request that Governor Newsom sent to Congress, it sure looks like that he's finally ready to capitulate. What's honestly really just astounding to me is that things in California have gotten this bad in the first place. That said, luckily, Governor Newsom will be on his way out at the end of 2026, but it seems as if everyone's favorite failed presidential aspirant, Kamala Harris, is interested in taking his place. So hey, for the sake of the good Californians out there, let's all hope that that doesn't come to fruition. But guys, I think that's going to be a wrap for today's video, so please go down in the comments below, let me know what you think about all of this. Please like the video if you liked it. Like I said earlier, please consider subscribing to the channel because it really does help a ton with my daily struggle against the YouTube algorithm. Thank you all very much for tuning in today, and of course, as always, stay safe.